Are you a good person? That's an interesting question. And a lot of people have asked that question. And it's surprising that even some young people are asking this very question. In this video, I'm going to explain about whether you're a good person or not, but we're going to talk about being good or bad. We're going to talk about sin and perfection. I think you're really going to enjoy this video. Hi, I'm Daniel Laxtons, and I help people reach higher levels of law of attraction. Now, in this video, I'm talking about, are you a good person? And let me just say, yes, absolutely you are a good person. If you're watching this video, you're a good person. And the reason why you're asking this question is because you want to be a good person. So you are a good person. A bad person would not even be watching the video. They don't realize they're bad. But let's talk about this, being a good person. And it's really strange. You're gonna like this though, because good, the word good actually really just means adequate or belonging together. That's the original meaning of the word good. And if you look at the word bad, in the late 1400s, it was then coined wicked, evil. Wicked or evil. That's where the mind started changing for some of us. We're growing up and you have this connotation of wickedness. When you think of bad, it's that. But in 1300s and before, the word bad just meant inadequate. Inadequate. Now you think about that. What's your skill set? Are you good at this? Are you bad at that? Are you adequate? Are you inadequate? When you're starting a job, you're going to be very bad at your job at first, inadequate. But as you get better and better working on certain skill sets, then you become adequate, sometimes even more than adequate. You're amazing, right? But here's the thing though, is these two words, good and bad, are a part of a paradigm that we were born into. And this paradigm is shifting. I don't know if you felt the energy on the planet, but things are shifting. And we're starting to really go back to understand what happened back in the late 1400s. That was when the Inquisitions happened, and that's when everyone was being forced to be a part of a belief system, religious belief. Back in the day, before this, the last wizards were all murdered between 1450 and in the 1500s, between 1450 to 1650. So, but that's the thing is the wise ones, quote unquote, because the word wizard just means wise person, right? And the thing is those guys, even that term people are afraid of, but in reality, they were just the pre-scientists of our time. So meaning that they knew what the plants would do, which plant would help. They knew that a poplar tree could get rid of a headache. You just take the bark off and you make a little tea. You drink that and your headache goes away. Why? Because that's what they make Tylenol out of, right? So the different plants on the planet are medicines that can help heal you. In reality, you heal yourself, but these plants help your body along the way. So, but the thing is good or bad, it just depends on the situation. For example, what about water? Is water good or bad? Water. What about water? Is it good or bad? Well, it depends on the circumstances, doesn't it? Think about it. Water, our bodies are made up of 60% water. Now, okay, hang on a second, Daniel. I heard it was 73%. No, I heard it was 83%. Well, the reason why there's misconceptions on that is the person that came up with those percentages, his name was H.H. Mitchell. And what it is that our brain is composed, and our heart is about 73% water, whereas our lungs are 83% water, our skin contains 64% water, and then lastly, our kidneys are 79% water. And actually, our bones are only 31% water. Bones. So, not every part of your body is made up of 83 or 60, 73, but it's all, when you calculate it all together, it's 60% water. But the point is, so if we don't drink water, water is good because we're made of water, right? Water is good. But if you drink too much water, it's bad. So most people wouldn't die from drinking too much water unless you're in sports, or unless your body's getting rid of some chemical. Maybe if you're taking a medicine that's too much and your body's trying to get rid of it, or if you're a sports person. If you're in sports, you may drink too much water. This has happened. It can kill you to drink too much water because you flush your electrolytes out. But here's another way that water kills, right? 6 feet underwater for more than 4 to 6 minutes will cause brain damage or will kill you. So yes, water is a murderer. That's the reason why it's bad, wicked, or evil. But it's not. But the thing is everything's based upon circumstances. As a matter of fact, let's get rid of this wicked and evil. I mean, let's get rid of the 1400s. Let's go back to inadequate. Let's go back to good being adequate, because this will help you to grow your mind, to help you grow into the person you want to become, because it's all about the journey. Right now, you're neither bad or good. Okay, you're good. We're all adequate, right? Because we're on a journey. So the thing is we may be bad at some things and good at some things, but it all depends on who is setting the standard, right? It's a standard. But the thing is your life, you get to design your own standard, as long as you're fair to everyone else involved. So if you're sharing a concept or sharing ideology, then everyone has to be fair and adequate in deciding on the rules or the standard. And if you deviate, let me give you an example. Say if you're going to a party, and say you're going to go to a very elegant ball, and we're going to dress up in tuxedos and dresses, and we're going to have a wonderful time, right? There's nothing wrong with that. That's fun. To dress up, have a bow tie, and maybe even tux on, and she's wearing a beautiful nightgown. So the thing is when we dress up, if it was agreed upon that's a black tie event, then that would mean that we'd all agree to that standard. If you showed up wearing a t-shirt, you're not going to be allowed in. That would be bad. That's inadequate based upon the standard. So look at another one. If you go to another party, and if you're overdressed, well, you're not matching the standard. So it's a fairness. We all want to be fair to each other. So this is something that we have to consider when it comes to good or bad. It's all based upon circumstances and based upon what was agreed upon by the group. So in religion, in the 1400s, everyone was taught this concept, this wicked concept, right? So sin, you're a sinner. That's what they were teaching everyone, that, oh, well, we're a sinner, you have to ask for forgiveness. And what is sin? Well, under scholarly remarks from the 1400s, it was you're missing the mark. This here, missing the mark, is what sin was. So like the archers, when you're in England, you're shooting and you miss, they call that a sin. It just meant that you missed the mark. But the original word sin actually just meant if. So based upon a standard, there was, it's iffy, right? But now in Latin, we have sin, we also have sons, which does mean children in Latin even to this day, but it had a connotation of guilty. I guess maybe the kids were bad back then? I guess, no. Well, they weren't following the standard that maybe is protocol for the time. So they developed a connotation for this word to be guilty. And then the last word, all the sin, sons, and some were all related words. Some means I am. But it's really interesting, see, because to be that which is. Some means to be, which that is. Of course, we know this to be the equals marks, right? We're talking about equal. So when you're combining everything, so if you can absorb what I'm trying to explain here, that sin it doesn't really exist in the way that is taught. I mean, this is a concept, even the concept of perfection, it's not a real concept. It's a religious ideology from an old paradigm that was created hundreds or thousands of years ago. We'll just say hundreds of years ago, because we know that these terms started changing in the late 1400s, and these concepts were built into paradigms. And that's why some people feel like, am I a good person? Because we're brought up with these paradigms, these concepts in our minds is like, oh, I'm a bad person, I messed up. But think about this. Can you imagine maybe a 3-year-old, when you're 3 years old and you're trying to learn to walk, and you fall down, you scrape your knee, and maybe some person comes up and says, well, you're a sinner. You just fell down and scraped your knee. You need to pray for forgiveness. You're only trying to learn how to walk. You're not good. Now, granted, you're bad under the old terminology. You're inadequate to walk until when? When do you become good? You're on a journey. You're learning. You're growing. And so as we grow up, we learn how to walk, then we learn how to run. But if you're focused on this bad word, or that you're wicked or evil, it's not that. It's not wicked or evil. People that are wicked or evil, there's usually something messed up in their heads. They're inadequate as a human being at this time. I wish that we could help all of those people to change and become better humans. But maybe they're just on a younger journey right now. They're just young on a spiritual level. But we have to, love your enemies, wish the best for them. So now, sin, we talked about. Son, we talked about. Guilty. That's where these connotations started coming, and that's the reason why people start asking whether they're a good person. You are a good person. It's all based upon someone else's standard, and nowadays, because of so many sects of different religions across the world, all these sects are based upon a personality. One person that is the most charismatic person within that church or within that religion or within that congregation. And those people that are so charismatic, they're so powerful in their mesmerism of people that they forced what they felt, their standard, their personal conscience on other people. And that's the thing though, is on an individual level, you get to choose your belief systems. You don't have to believe anything that you see around you. As a matter of fact, that's the beginning. That's the beginning to not believe everything you see. Everything is true and everything is false. Once you see that 50-50 split of what things are, then you can start to see what reality really is made of. But this is the beginning. Let's talk about perfection. This word perfect. Are you a perfect person? Where did that word come from? So in the 1300s, it meant complete or finished. And that kind of is interesting, huh? Complete or finished, because that goes back again to the word good, adequate. Because say if you're a painter and you're painting a painting, if you're gonna paint a really quick one, maybe you'll have a certain amount of time, but once it's done to a level of perfection that you believe, you think you're complete, you're done with it. So that means it's perfect. That's what the word originally meant, that you're finished. You completed that painting. Well, it doesn't have all the details. It doesn't have everything that was supposed to have. It doesn't matter, because you only had this much time. This is the way a person wanted it. You painted it this way, and now it's complete. That's what the word perfect means. Complete. It's done. It's finished. That's all it is. So you can see how religious people took that word and then used it in this concept of wickedness, and then used it in such a way where you make people feel guilty because you're not following their standard, the standard that was agreed upon. So in actuality, that's when they later on, the late 1400s, this word perfect became flawless. And that way it corresponded with sin, meaning error, guilty, guilty. That which is also that is basically guilty because it was evidence. So the sum of the evidence was you're a bad person. And that's the way they manipulated and controlled others. Now here's the thing though. If you're living under your family's, your father or mother's roof, then if they have rules within the house, well, they own it. They're the one that's training you. So yeah, you have to live by their standards. And if you're not, then that would be you're being inadequate. You're not wicked or evil, but the thing is you have a personality, so you want to express who you are. When we're older, we get to express who we are. Oh, except if you're at a different, say if you want to be a part of a group, then you'll have to follow their standard. So the best thing to do, as long as you're fair to everyone around you, if you come in contact with someone else, then you have to be fair and adequate to them. And that's the only rules of reality. Reality is you can choose whatever you want to believe. You can choose whether something is good or bad for you. I know it sounds crazy because everyone wants to push their conscience on someone, but as long as you're treating someone fairly, then you can choose whatever you want to believe. And what you'll find is that will become your reality, because what you believe is your reality. So yes, perfection, let me give you this last one too. When it comes to perfection, there's no such thing as true perfection. And the proof of that is if you're, say, a carpenter and you're making a table, it looks perfect when you're done. But if I get a microscope and look underneath a microscope, if we could shrink ourselves down to a microscopic size and look at that table, it's gonna be wavy, you're gonna see all kinds of imperfections. Even the wood is not perfect, right? What is perfect again? Oh yeah, it's finished. So, see, flawless, this is not a good word for us anymore. Because in reality, perfect just meant that you're finished. So when a person finishes that table and it's all flat, it's perfect enough, right? It's adequate. It's good, it's adequate. Perfection means it was complete. That you decided that I could work on this and sand this for another 2 hours, but you know what? No one's gonna notice any of the imperfections. So it's done, I'm complete. And so these are the terminologies that actually go back to that question, whether you're a good person or not. And the truth is, you are a good person. But don't forget, you're also really bad about some things, because not all of us can be good at everything. So, you might be an amazing singer, or you may be a great guitarist. Some people aren't amazing singers. Some people aren't good at playing the guitar. Some people have their skill sets. So don't think about this good or bad. Just think of adequate and inadequate in certain areas. And the areas that you're inadequate in, then work on those. If that's a part of who you are, you can become anything you want. It doesn't matter. Sky's the limit. It all comes down to your belief. But don't let anyone tell you whether you're good or bad, because you're on a journey. And no matter what, at this point in time, you are good. You're good enough. If you like this video, please click like, subscribe to my channel, hit the bell so that way you can get more of my videos, and share it with a friend, and leave a comment. I really appreciate you all, and I will see you in my next video.